Fortnite. Good afternoon, gamers. I have a concerning topic that I wanted to bring to the public's attention, and that is that I'm really unsure whether the Pokémon Mystery Dungeon series is going to be continuing. This is my favorite Pokémon spin-off series. I've made a couple videos in which I detail why that is. Damn truck. I'd say it's too early to say whether or not we're ever going to see a game again, but it's certainly not looking good at this exact moment. So this is a series which has had several games since the original on GBA and DS, Red Rescue Team and Blue Rescue Team respectively. Since then there's been several sequels which have expanded on it, peaked in many minds with the sequel to Red and Blue Rescue Team, that being Explorers of Time, Darkness, and Sky. That sort of series of games is what is generally considered to be the peak of the series, and that is reflected in the sales numbers. Those games sold the best. However, since then, the series has definitely slowed down. We had Gates to Infinity. Reception to that was pretty lackluster in comparison to the previous games. However, that led to Super Mystery Dungeon, released near the end of 3DS's life, which to me was more of a return to form. And then after that, there was, of course, the remake Pokémon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX on Switch, released in 2020. I think what makes me concerned is that it has been 3 years since that game. There's not been any announcement of anything related to the series since then. By next March, it'll have been 4 years since it released, and if we haven't had an announcement by then, I'll definitely be concerned, as I am now. But I'll be extra concerned because, my friends, that game, you know, you look at the sales numbers and in a vacuum, they do look pretty okay, pretty decent. It's reportedly slightly below 2 million units. But then when you compare it to the rest of the Pokemon series on Switch, you know, it's tough to say whether that amount of sales is really enough to keep the series going if you compare it to other Pokemon games on Switch, which to me is disappointing because I think the quality of Rescue Team DX far outpaces the main series games at this point. A lot of times on Switch, when you get a new game release in a classic series like Zelda or Luigi's Mansion or Kirby, the sales tends to far outperform previous versions of that game. But with Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, it's kind of just matched the 3DS versions in terms of sales. I think it went slightly higher than the 3DS versions, but not to an exceptional degree. It's tough to say whether we're going to be seeing a new Mystery Dungeon game, and if that is the case, if it'll be anytime soon. I can't imagine they cost that much to develop compared to a fair amount of other games. Mystery Dungeon DX, as much as I did like it, was fairly basic in terms of visuals. The gameplay was quite good and refined, and of course the story remained intact, but the visuals were somewhat rudimentary compared to other first-party Nintendo releases, but actually probably outpaced most of the main series Pokemon games in terms of visual identity. It reminds me a bit of the Mario and Luigi series, which is perhaps one of the things that concerns me. It's had quite a few iterations which sold well, but then near the end of its life, they kind of just started doing remakes. Granted, those were on 3DS, which was really a terrible move on their part. It really should have been on Switch. But you look at that, and the sales started to go down just because there wasn't much of an audience for it on 3DS. The series is now dead. The company has gone under. Obviously, the developer of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is fortunately pretty prolific developer in comparison to Alpha Dream, in that they are responsible for quite a few different series. It's tough to say whether Mystery Dungeon is enough of an earner. I want to believe that the amount it sold was enough, and I mean, from most perspectives, I think it should be, but you never know how these things are calculated by these mega corporations, especially the Pokemon Company. You see how many mobile games they're doing, and their sort of predatory practices with microtransactions, and then how they're pumping out these main series games without too much care put into them. You know, obviously there's a lot of effort on the development side, but clearly if those teams had more time and resources, they could make better products, which is just not being offered to them clearly by the Pokemon Company, which is more concerned with getting out releases consistently, since they continue to sell well. Personally, I think they very well could be permanently damaging the brand, but whether or not that's the case, we might not see for several years. You know, obviously a lot of people still seem to like the main series games and play them, which is cool. You know, I'm not dissing anyone who enjoys those. I just personally don't think that enough effort is being put into them. So is the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series coming back? That is my question. But it is becoming more and more difficult to imagine it returning after, you know, time keeps going by. We will see. We will see. There's still time, of course, for a new game to come out. I wouldn't totally give up hope at this point, and I do hope to see it continue, but clearly that might not be the case. And if not, that would be sad. That would certainly be a sad day. There's also other factors to consider, like Nintendo is quite likely preparing a new console for release, a successor to the Nintendo Switch. And there's also another Pokemon spin-off lined up for this year with Detective Pikachu Returns. So those are factors that could be holding back a Mystery Dungeon from releasing. Like perhaps there is one in development that is near completion, but they're holding off on releasing it until the timing is right. You never know how those things are going to work. Some Nintendo games are held back for quite some time before they released. Apparently the Metroid Prime remaster had been completed for quite some time before it was released. There are other examples like that. I just wanted to make a little video about Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. I don't have too much to say about it other than I love the series and I would love to see it continue. I think there's great potential for further games, whether they be remakes or hopefully someday we get a new Mystery Dungeon game with new Pokemon in them. Because even though I don't love the new mainline games as much as the older games, I do really enjoy the Pokemon designs that are in them most of the time. And so it'd be really great to see those in a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon context. It does kind of need to expand if it's going to continue, and I don't know if it's really done that with that release of Rescue Team DX. Hopefully a bit, but yeah, I think there's still a lot of room to grow for that series in terms of its audience. That's just the topic I had for today. It's where my brain is at. It's perhaps a bit negative, but yeah, that's just how it'd be. I hope to have more videos in the future. I'll be honest, I've been kind of struggling to think of what to talk about to keep the channel going. We'll hope to have more videos on the channel soon. There's definitely one or two that I have definitely planned, but those are probably going to be a bit further off. So until then, you know, hopefully I'll come up with something to keep the channel going. The old onion creature train will continue to run. I just need to get some coal to shovel in there. All right, Mystery Dungeon heads, I hope you're hanging in there in these difficult times. You know, I mean, it's not dire. There's obviously a lot of great Nintendo releases coming out at this moment. We have like Pikmin 4, Tears of the Kingdom, the new Mario games coming out soon, Mario Wonder and Mario RPG Remake, which is fantastic. So obviously a lot to be positive about, but yeah, this is just sort of the topic that was on my mind that felt the need to bring up, to bring attention to. The series might be in dire straits, and I hope that's not the case. Just sort of ring the alarm bells, just lightly, give them a little slight ring. Nothing too crazy, just say, I'm a little concerned. All right then, folks. Onion Man out.